this is Anders, and you're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 157 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, May 13th, 2019. The time, 8:39 p.m. Central Standard Time. This might just be the best episode ever. Lots to discuss. I don't know if any of it matters, though. We will discuss and recap the Overwatch League Stage 2 playoffs. The Blast Pro Series Madrid happened. And, of course, we have tons to get to in E-News, our weekly segment of things we just don't have time or the details to dedicate to a full segment. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. But before we do that, let's introduce the crew. Hello, my name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. How are you? With me, as always, we have Anuj. How's it going, buddy?
Hey guys, how are y'all? Doing all right.
Doing pretty darn good. And besides that, we got Brett. Hello, Brett.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you ready for a fun-filled show, Brett? If you could just
I'm
consolidate all of your statements. We don't need long form. All right. We already got yelled at by OGE's translator that
it's
your
not my
questions
fault
don't
that
translate well.
He needs a better translator. All right. Hot sports
So it's
opinion.
the translator's fault now.
Hot esports opinion. He needs a better translator.
Just so the listeners aware. You know what? We'll get that into a second, because I got to finish the intro. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring if you're not doing so already. Stay up to date with the news, the show news, that is. You can see all our personal Twitters on there, Discord link, all that. Be a part of the conversation. Let us know how we're doing. We sure do appreciate it. But earlier today, and you can find this later on YouTube after I do some magical editing, because we were technology limited us today. But earlier today, Brett and I were joined by none other than OGE of the Dallas Fuel to do a short little interview to help promote the All-Star game and the events around it coming up Wednesday and Thursday. So, OGE, if you don't know, is Korean. His English is okay. It has improved since I spoke with him at the finals in New York, but it's not the greatest. So he has a translator there to back up. And Brett's first question, which I don't know if anyone knows this, Anuj can back me up here. Sometimes Brett's questions get a little long-winded. Maybe a little bit of shake voice involved, But nonetheless, it was just Brett being Brett. And the translator was like, oh yeah, hold on. Let me actually fix this on stream here for you. The translator, by the way, we do stream on Twitch. So if you're into that, go check it out. Every episode. The translator, Brett asked his question, which is something about like having Note on the team, and does it affect the meta, or how does he feel against the meta against Vancouver and all?
So
and the translator
this is
was
what this is what I was trying to say. Let's start
Okay.
here, okay? And
Okay.
then you can bash
defend
me here in a
yourself
minute,
against
all right?
the poor translator.
I'm not
that
going to
was like,
defend myself.
Look,
No,
I
no,
got
no,
I got to write a translation, not
it
a
was-
transcript.
It was winded. I will give you that. I'll take the L. I don't mind taking the L, right? Like I know when I F up. But like what I was trying to say was, hey, you've had a full stage with Note. Talk to me how the team's performing in this current meta opposed to teams like, the Shock and Titans. Where do you stand with with those guys? It didn't come out that way.
No, it did. And Anuj,
It came out a little bit more long
Can you say that one more time? And so he said it one more time, and then the translator was just like, that doesn't translate well.
It doesn't translate well. You know what?
So Kevin, who is like works for the league and Blizzard. He's, you know, God bless his soul, pretty much had to translate in English what Brett was trying to say, and he was just like, "How do you guys perform with Note?" It's like summed
Yeah.
it down to like 3 words.
It's
It's like, oh,
it
poor Brett.
it would have been a good question, but you know what? That's okay.
Ugh, I am still
That's all
dealing with a
right.
cough from hell that will just not go away. So bear with me, listener. I got my water. I got cough drops. It won't go away. So we'll see. We'll see. Funny story. So I'm taking medicine out the wazoo to try to fix this illness that won't go away. It's just allergies. That's all it is. And so at night I take some cough syrup medicine to, help me sleep through the night without coughing up a lung. And as most sleeping agents do, kind of affect your dreams, right? They always say like sleeping pills, anything will make you have very lucid dreams. They will feel real. And so I had one the other night.
Got it.
And it's like I'm laying in bed and my wife walks in. This is all in the dream, of course. And she's not pregnant at the time in my dream. And was like, "Hey, babe, you know, you work so hard and stuff. And I just really appreciate it. And my really hot friend, she wants to have a threesome." And I was like, "All right, that sounds good to me." And she's like, "But don't worry. Afterwards, you can go play video games and order pizza and just hang out with the boys." And I was like, "Sweet. Threesome, pizza, and video games. Like, what more do you want?" And like at this point, I had no idea it was a dream. It all felt real. And then I looked at my phone and I got an email and it was from Hex. And he said he wants to come on the show after blackballing us for 2 years. And that's when I knew it was a dream.
That's when that was the dead giveaway
That
right
was
there.
that was the trigger. I was like, wait a minute. Optic
I
doesn't
thought this was gonna go
respond to
different.
emails.
I thought you were gonna say in the dream, Sneaky walked in.
No, no. I'd tell my wife to leave the room if that happened.
Please,
It's just I don't need a three-way on this one, babe. No. So
I can handle this.
that's my cough syrup story for the show. Let's get into the content though, as we do, because we did have big events over the weekend. I don't know how meaningful any of them were, and that's going to be the underlining theme for this episode is, does any of this really matter? Because as esports grows, look, some tournaments just have to take the hit, some events have to take a hit, some of it's going to be fabricated. So we'll get into that. But with Blast Pro, you did have Blast Pro Series Madrid. I do want to talk about the matches first, and then we can get into the debate of the importance of Blast Pro, because their reputation has kind of taken a hit over what would you say, Anuj? Month or two?
Past couple months. I mean, even I think in our opinions as well, right?
Oh yeah. You know what?
Like
Dare I say? I think we started it because we
we were
talked
probably
about
the
it like
first.
last week or 2 weeks ago. Like, how important is this tournament? And then all of a sudden, it seems like it's everyone is talking about it all of a sudden. But this, don't let the importance of the tournament though deter you from the play at hand. Let's start from the bottom, and we can go to the top. You did have Giants Gaming. That is actually Fox's team, if anyone remembers him. They ended up qualifying in the first day play-in games. So they were able to qualify. They got last place. Cloud9 ended up getting 5th place. I don't know if Cloud9 could fight their way out of Mountain Dew League at this point if they had to.
Rough.
They looked rough. Though this did slide under the radar. A couple weeks ago, I did not know this. They got Valens back.
Yeah.
So Rambo is no longer their coach.
Rambo's
They're back.
out.
Yep.
Rest in peace. Rambo's
Yeah.
gone. So
He is moving on to greener pastures. Not a total loss for him, I guess, other than a
I
job.
think there's another team he was actually getting tied to. But yeah, that Valens is back. I think that's got to be a big boost, right? Like Valens brings so much to this team. We've seen it, we've actually seen it work with different variations of this lineup. But I still think this lineup is going to struggle even with them back. Like I find it hard to believe that they've found what they're looking for. It still seems a little hodgepodge in terms of what they've brought together. The thing is, though, there are like good names on this team right now. Like, right, we've all
Right.
seen Cajun B when he's at the top of his game. He's a fantastic player. Rush and Automatic have brought some consistency. Vice is still like TBD. I think it's safe to say. And then even with Golden, in the sense, it's like a TBD right now because we hadn't seen him play in so
Right.
long. So it's
He's
still
been on the
fresh
roster
for
for a good amount of time, but as far as like games on
playtime.
his resume, there's nothing
It's,
nothing to
it's
look
low.
at.
It's low. So he's got to feel like I think from his perspective, he feels like he needs to probably prove himself again as well. So still
And
a
of
lot
course,
to be seen
the
with this
only
lineup.
team Cloud9 was even able to defeat were Giants, and even that was a almost a loss on their
That
part.
was like a 16-14, wasn't it?
Yeah, 16-14 on
No.
Dust. So again, Dust is a map where I don't think it matters what team is on. It's been around forever, so it could go either way. But still, not looking good. Navi ended up getting fourth as they struggled in the event, losing to Nip. Nip
Barely
ended up
losing to
getting third.
Astralis.
Yeah, they lost to
Yeah,
Astralis and eventually the winners on Ents.
and Nip looked good in this tournament. You know, Nip should feel pretty good. I think coming out of here, they didn't perform poorly. They played with the big boys. They were the only team I believe to take out Ents in the tournament. Um, and we'll get to them, but they looked good in the tournament. They played well. The Res is performing at a high level. It's always nice. You're getting a little bit more consistency. I feel out of Forest and Get Right. Um, at this point, and Dennis is kind of also working his way back in a little bit too, right? Like he had a little hiatus, not nearly as long as Golden, but it stepped away briefly, and he's looking good right now when he did have some struggles before he left. So they're finding consistency within this lineup, and they look dangerous. They're the number 6 team in the world right now, and they're consistently doing well at tournaments, not winning them, but playing well.
You talk about Navi or
Nip,
Nip?
No,
Nip.
Nip.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nip, yeah.
Yeah, Nip. And then in the finals, you did have Astralis versus Ents. Rematch of the major finals.
Yep.
And, pretty good little finals. Some spark notes right off the top. Astralis losing their first ever game on Nuke. And it wasn't
31,
like
31 straight wins on Nuke, which is
31 straight wins.
one short of the record held by Nip,
Yeah,
who had it at
oh,
32. And so
thought it would beat
Nip is popping the champagne like the Dolphins are. They keep the longest streak there with Nuke, and that was really ballsy on Ence's part.
people.
Like Ence is also a comfortable team on Nuke, but they had lost earlier in the tournament to NIP and lost handily. They lost like a 16-5 match on Nuke, and that was the only loss they had. And they threw it back in the map pool against Astralis. And against Astralis, obviously they 2-0'd him in the finals, but they beat him earlier on Dust 2 in the tournament. So they came out 3-0 versus Astralis in this tournament. And that's got to feel good after the Boston Major. Obviously, it's not at the same level, but it still keeps Ents in that, like, hey, it wasn't a joke,
Right.
like, right. I think that's the thing that people might have been worried
Well,
about
and
is
that's the
is
thing
this
too
going to
is,
last?
everyone gets on Astralis lately of, they're not playing in tournaments, and the tournaments that they are playing in, are not as meaningful, which we'll get to in a second. But look at both teams' recent history. It's not like Ents has been just traveling the world since the major competing in events either. Like there hasn't been that many events between the major and now. So that for the most part, they've been on a competitive, even playing field. It's not like Ents was able to, you can't be like, well, Ents really worked hard against in these other tournaments, so they're coming in more heated. No, they kind of even playing field. As Anuj mentioned, they beat Astralis on Nuke 16-9, so that wasn't even close, really. And then Train 16-13. I do want to let's try to morph this into both discussions of talking about Astralis and then the importance of Blast Pro, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think Astralis kind of lit the fire, if you will, because obviously, if you recall, maybe a month or so ago, we discussed that Astralis announced that they weren't attending as many tournaments. What was the first one that they said no to?
Oh man, gonna
Was
put me on the
it? It
spot.
was a
I
big
don't know.
one. Was it New
Was it?
York? Are they in New York?
Well, they weren't in Australia, right?
Right. Maybe that was the one I was thinking of with a
So that they weren't at Sydney, and that was a fairly large event.
right.
Um, yeah, they're not going to New York. They weren't going to the whatever one was just pinned right across from Blast Pro. Whatever was there was another big one here recently, and now they're all starting. It was Sydney. I think Sydney was the big one that they also weren't attending. But even throughout the year, they've released a lot of their schedule, and
Right.
a majority of their events are Blast Pro events, league final events, right? So things you have to
Uh-huh.
kind of go for the ECSs, the ESLs. Thankfully, they're going to be at Cologne, but still, like a big portion of their schedule is tied to Blast Pro. And again, we've gone over this. We're not going to go over the relation with
Right.
Blast Pro and these guys, but that's kind of well known. And so, we kind of talk about the importance of not only them winning these tournaments, but what is the actual importance of these tournaments to kind of begin with, right? I think Blast
Yeah.
has taken some heat recently for obviously this drama, but also the format. I think part of the problem is when Astralis attends limited number of events due to travel schedule or whatever the reasoning may be, they're attending events whose format is not the traditional CS:GO format. Your best out of threes, your group
Right.
play, moving into a playoff system. You don't get that at Blast Pro events. It's a BO1 system, a lot of randomness to it.
6 teams.
Yeah, six
There's
teams,
six
and
teams, and it's not like E League. Like if you remember back when E League actually did Counter Strike, there were only like 6 or 8 teams, but they were the top teams in the world. Like,
yeah.
yes, it was just a throwaway E League tournament, but that tournament was huge as far as like the competition it was involved. Like they got the top 8, the top 6 in the world to attend. This is Giants and Cloud9, which you know what? I'm repping a mango Cloud9 jersey as I say this, but if you had 6 teams to invite to your Counter-Strike tournament and being like, this is high quality skill, Cloud9 would not be on that list.
No, you would want Liquid there, right? The number 2 team in the world isn't there. Fnatic, who's been playing really well, they're at number 5 right now.
FaZe.
FaZe wasn't in this tournament. MIBR, NRG, like the list kind of goes on. There's a handful of teams that you would want to see in these, for a 6 team. Give me the top 6 ideally, but there's still a grouping in the top 10 where you want to see only top 10 teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's not going to help Astralis's case to maintain that number 1 ranking if this is like your primary tournament that you're attending. Unfortunately, HLTV grades they grade their tournaments, right? So think of it as like A tier, B tier, C
Right.
tier.
And that's how
Blast
they
to
get a
them is
lot of their points, right? When it comes to the HLT rankings, which I think is widely used as the ranking system.
it is. Yeah, it's the ranking system for Counter-Strike. And so they grade it as a class A or whatever tournament. And there's been a lot of question and debate about that. And on Twitter, I've seen a lot of conversation going on there. And the defense is, hey, there's still a lot of top 20 or 30 teams in the world at these tournaments, so it's still considered a high-end tournament. But I agree, in my mind, it should be one notch lower until you either go to traditional formatting and you're bringing a top 15 team
Right.
only, to these tournaments.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Blast Pro. Like it is still a fun event to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah, I still love the show match that they do between I think it's like third and fourth team,
yeah.
third and
The
fourth place
1v1,
where
the 1v1.
1v1 ops and whatever on
Yeah.
the 1v1 maps. I love watching that. I think that's a fun way to lead up into a finals. I enjoy it a hell of a lot better than a casters match or something ridiculous like that. Um,
Moses point.
UI is good for the game, like
the
all
UI
that
is, I mean, to
infographics.
think where Blast started, their very first event was laughable. Like
Yeah.
most places would not even try to continue after the failure that the first Blast Pro event was. And then they started doing them more. And then it was like, oh, we might get 1 or 2 of these a year. This is exciting. It's different. And now it's like, they're competing. They're arguing with ESL for like prime time weekends because of like, well, no, we scheduled it, out in advance for this weekend, and ESL is saying, well, no, we need this, and it's a mess as far as the scheduling goes. And Blast Pro is treating themselves as like a top dog, which of course that's what you're gonna do if you're a
Well, they're
tournament
bigger than
organizer.
DreamHack in my mind right now for CS:GO. Like, I think
Yeah,
they're a bigger organizer than DreamHack is in the current CS:GO
yeah,
setup. I mean,
yeah.
DreamHack has these summer events which are
Well,
really
and
small
DreamHack kind of
scale.
limits themselves to they always have to tie an event to a DreamHack, right? Like you
Yeah,
don't see
but
standalone
DreamHack
DreamHack
used to
events.
be on the ESL, like those
Oh, of
type
course,
of
yeah. Let's see
terms, and
how
now it's
Dallas works because it's a Masters event.
but
I'm kind of
but that's
curious
like
to
a
see.
unique
That's
in
gonna
the
be
sense that it is a
Right.
Masters
Oh,
event,
right,
right?
right. I get what you're saying.
The
Yeah, because the
yeah.
normal ESL event, or I'm sorry, the normal DreamHack tournaments, like if it's not a Masters, like last year's in Austin or something like that. No, I agree. They're pretty weak competition.
They
They
try and
invite the
pull
local
regional
teams.
teams, yeah, regional teams and like one or two overseas team get
Yeah.
brought in
And again,
generally.
nothing wrong with that. And I
No,
feel
it's
like
great.
DreamHack has conceded to it, right? Like
Yeah,
DreamHack is like, no, it works for us, right? We're not going to make Counter Strike the main stage anymore, or at least, last year it wasn't. PUBG was. So they conceded that. But I feel like Blast Pro wants to be one of the top premier tournaments. And again, nothing wrong with that. You're a business. I get it. But you're with 6 teams and one best of ones. I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that this is as much of a grind as IEM Sydney or New York or DreamHack Masters. I mean, that's fact. It's not even like
are,
a subjective opinion. Like that. Look
so
at the paper.
are you getting at like you want to see what they do with like a 16 team tournament, right? Like trying to like balance that
it doesn't have
schedule
to
and
be
all
It doesn't
that.
even have to be
16.
16. Just
It can stay 6 for all I care. And you do 2 groups of 3 and you make them all like do a rotational best of 3. Just give me a traditional format and give me the top tier teams if you're going to limit the number. Obviously, it's hard. They have to work it out with all these teams to get
right.
them there. So it's not like all on them, but that needs to be a really high priority, I think, to be graded as a tier 1 event. Like I see
Yeah.
ESL still as miles ahead in terms of what I feel like I'm getting from an ESL event. I feel like I'm getting a full tournament. I'm not getting a little gimmicky of a setup, which I still feel like Blast Pro is, but yet they get the number 1 team in the world every time because they're tied to the organization, right?
Right.
Without Astralis being at these events, they become laughable events. You take Astralis out of this event and plug in like a lower top 20 team, put a Furia or a North or an Avangard or something in there that are ranked in the top 20, top 15 even. And this would be like a very low tier event in my eyes. And so Astralis is the kicker here. They're taking a lot of heat for it. Um, we just kind of have to see how they kind of grade out. They didn't win the last 2 Blast Pro events.
Right.
That's a big deal. Like if you're
Yeah.
only going to attend these events, you better win them. Like I feel
If
like
you're
that should be
gonna
a
commit, like Astralis has made their bed, right? They've said, obviously we're gonna attend the Blast Pro series. And again, I said it in the episode that we broke the whole thing down. I'm 100% okay with that. Like if my boss invites me to their party, I'm probably gonna go to that party, right? Like they're the ones who write the paychecks. You got the same thing going on with Astralis. Of course, they're going to attend that tournament. But if you're also going to say no to other tournaments due to travel reasons or whatever, right? I'm sure there's more than just travel involved on this. I'm sure there's a little bit more involved with that boss's opinion, if you know what I'm saying. But then you
Do you think there
lose.
should be Oh, go ahead. Finish your
I was
thought.
gonna say the fact is like you said, Anuj, if you are gonna make that commitment and then you lose, say Astralis has never came out and said we're not attending these certain events, and it was just a normal as business as usual, Astralis losing to Ents here would have been an awesome major rematch story, and it's almost taken away. Like Astralis losing has taken away from Ents winning because everyone's just like, oof, you picked like 10 events to attend a year and you're not gonna win them like that. That's not good.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of forgot where I was going with my. Oh, yeah. Do you think there should be any sort of limitation for event organizers to have buy-in on teams, like to have ownership stake within teams? Like I feel like in my mind it's a conflict of interest. I mean, it's obviously not regulated that way, but
Right.
do you all feel there should be some sort of limitation there where
I
to,
see. I think there is because, like, let's say that they do get a major, right? Like, eventually, way down the line, they're able to show consistency and people just love them. And Astralis is always going to be there. Having Astralis there, I mean, a lower tier team like an Avangar or a Furia being in the major, that's building your brand, right? Like, you're there, you made
Mhm.
it. It's time to expose yourself. And let's say you're going up against Astralis. Like, what's to stop a tournament organizer from saying, "Hey, let's really focus on Astralis and give details about Astralis and just really go all in on them rather than a team like a Furia or an Avangard to build
Right.
their brand over
So you're just
somebody
talking about
else's."
for more of like a business play nice and fair aspect is what you're thinking of,
Yeah,
right?
right. I mean, and I'm not going to say it will happen or does happen, but in the back of everyone else's mind, it could happen,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I guess that's kind of part of being the free market that CS:GO is, right? Like the fact that you can do all that. So here, this is my only beef, right? And it's I've always say this, like this is my attitude about life in general. Is like if you feel this way about this, then you can't feel a different way about a similar or the same exact scenario, right? And I forget what the acronym. What was it? PEA? The players, the North American Players Association. Do you remember back when it started, and like
yeah.
these teams signed into it and the players signed into it, and then it blew up because people realized in the fine print it meant that players couldn't do certain tournaments or like sanctioned, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that's almost what like Astralis is doing. That it almost reminds me of that, right? Where it's like, well, you're playing favorites on what tournaments to attend. Uh, and whether that be because your ownership is quietly nudging you, saying, "Hey, you need to come to Blast Pro, and you can't attend this ESL event because it might take away viewers from what we have going on or whatever," right? It's like
It
I don't
doesn't
know,
help
like
when
a part.
Astralis says they don't want to have a crazy travel schedule and then Device is traveling to Dubai next weekend. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
right.
like,
Like
well, that
that's what I'm saying.
doesn't
I don't
doesn't
buy
have a
into
good
the
look.
travel thing. I don't buy
Yeah.
into it. Like I just don't. I don't. Every
Every
team
other
travels.
team is doing it. Every team is doing it,
Every
dude.
team
Like,
travels.
and I
It's
get it.
just
You
not
don't want to
it.
be traveling like 40 out of the 52 weeks a year. But again, like this is your job. That's kind of how Counter-Strike has always worked. Um, they're changing the ebb and flow of it, and it doesn't feel right. It just
Yeah.
doesn't feel right. And
Like,
so,
and then like again, if you were to tell them, if they were to come up to us and say like, look, between the months of May and June, we're not traveling. Like if we can go to local tournaments or whatever, that's a different story. But for these 2 months, we're gonna treat it almost like our off season. Like that would almost be a little different too, because it's like, all right, you're not really picking and choosing your tournament. You just chose the time of year, and this tournament happens to be there. But you guys are committing to like, dude, we just need 2 months where we don't see the inside of an airplane. And
instead, they're
I get
like,
that.
"Hey, we're not traveling May and June unless it's a blast tournament."
Unless it's Blast Pro,
You know,
then
yeah.
name it.
Then they'll do that.
Antarctica, we're
Yeah,
there,
we're
right?
And
there.
Antarctica.
So so it leads me into the Overwatch League Stage 2 playoffs of how important is this event? I think somewhat like Blast Pro, where Blast Pro is kind of fabricating how important their own event is. I feel like Overwatch League is doing the same thing with Stage 2 play or stage playoffs in general. I've said it before on the show that I think they're a joke. I think it's ridiculous that people try to make them a big deal. I get that it's a big deal for the players. I mean, you win a fat cash of 200,000 for just winning stage playoffs. Like San Francisco walked away with 200,000, Titans walk away with 100,000 for getting second, right? It's just qualifying. Your team gets
Yeah.
25 minimum. So I understand from a player's standpoint why you're excited. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. all it is a cash tournament fabricated by the league to make you care 4 times,
God,
3
you're
times
going
throughout the season.
full conspiracy theory here.
No, I mean
Funny.
it's not conspiracy.
But
It is what it
I
is.
know.
Like
No,
imagine if baseball
Tim,
or hockey
I'm
had a
on your side.
mid-season trophy to hand out. You would care a
Yeah.
lot more leading up to the All-Star break if they handed out a, well, congratulations, you won stage 1. You know, here's your
Yeah.
trophy.
And you know what? I'm a Fuel fan, right? I'm a Fuel fanboy. It's okay. You know, they're in my local town. They're my team, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm not doing jumping jacks when they get a team kill in a stage playoff match. I'm just not doing it. To me, I guess it's good for teams to be in the stage playoffs, like from a team benefit. It's like a litmus test against
Yeah.
teams that are going to be like in the playoffs because, you know, San Francisco, be that they didn't drop a map in, you know, stage 2, but it was still a litmus test to see if they were better than the Titans. So that was a good test for them, and you know they showed their worth. Um, but yeah, it's it's kind of fake excitement from a
That's
fan
what I'm saying,
standpoint.
right? Like
it's
it's
it,
it, I get the importance of like the measuring stick, right? And I totally
right.
understand that from a competitive standpoint. Because, like I said, for a prize pool of 500,000 for a stage playoff, those teams are trying, right?
Oh
Now,
yeah,
if from a pride standpoint,
oh,
but for 500,000, I'm playing, right?
yeah,
I'm taking it
if
for real. So
yeah,
I
and if you
understand that
look at
it's a good test.
composition, you're right, Tim. Teams do care because they didn't deviate from what they've been doing the entire
No.
season in stage 1 and 2 and whatever. Unless you're unless you're the Titans against the Dallas Fuel in map 3 of Anubis and you kind of style on with 4 DPS and 2 support to end it. But
Was it
other than
2?
that,
I thought they only
you're
had 1.
playing legit composition.
Yeah, it was rough. So, but
I got a
that's. Oh, go ahead.
I have a little bit of a different take on it. Like I actually do enjoy the stage playoffs as a whole. Like I like the idea of it just because it kind of breaks up the monotony of a long season, right?
And
Like I
that
feel like it
yeah,
creates a different type of buzz and excitement around the league rather than one long playoff system. Personally, what I don't care for is like the All-Star game. But that's for any sport. That's not
Okay.
like an Overwatch League thing, right? Like I don't care about the All-Star game in all sports really except the NBA just because it's fun to see people do crazy dunks, not because the game is actually good itself. So I don't have a lot of interest in that. But the stage playoffs for me create a little buzz, a little bit more interest. As somebody that doesn't watch Overwatch League religiously, I do keep track of like the stage playoffs because it creates, it's just more talk on Twitter. I kind of keep an eye. I was like, then I get an idea of these are the good teams. This is kind of where they stand.
but that
The
does that
money
kind of
is
prove my point then that that's the whole reason why the league fabricates it is to generate
Yeah.
interest on what
but yeah, but that's
probably
what,
would be a very monotonous season.
And I can tell you, I mean, Anuj said it. There is an all-star game that would break up the monotony there. I mean, to add a little bit of fun in the middle of a season. You know, we talked to OGE today and he said, "Yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to playing DPS." Like it
Right.
just like have fun, breaks the monotony, but I also think that stage playoffs, I mean, for me it doesn't do this, but I could see it doing for others and maybe viewership is it kind of dilutes the end of the season playoffs. Like
Right.
I watched four
do you
stage
feel like it
playoffs.
does? You
I
actually
feel
feel like
I
no,
this is
I said
so
it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it
right.
for me, right? But I'm speaking for other people that have seen four
Yeah.
stage playoffs and they're like, okay, now this is the actual
'Cause I
playoffs.
could tell you
but
We
this
the
right
care
grand
now.
now.
finals are so different. Like it's such a different setting, right? You
Well,
go to
how
the
so?
arena, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just like on a much bigger
Well,
scale, right?
yeah.
Like and then
Right.
it's awarding a champion over a league. So
I would like to
if your
I would like to
excitement
talk
isn't there for
to
that,
like fans of like maybe at the end of the year, right? Say the Shock beat Titans in stage 2 or stage 3 playoffs, right? And then you're in the grand finals and Vancouver beats San Francisco. Is there any Shock fan that is saying, "Yeah, well, we beat you twice in stage
Ask
playoffs"?
ask NYXL last year.
Yeah, but I wonder, right? Like, yeah,
because it was a
like
similar situation with the Spitfire.
is
Yeah.
any NYXL fan talking smack about? My point is you know what? If you make the stage playoffs, congratulations, right? It is, I guess, it's an achievement. But if I walk into any stadium and I see a freaking banner raised for stage 2 playoff champion,
But you
I'm
won't
climbing
see
up in the
that. Like
rafters
that's
and I'm
not
ripping it down.
that's not the motivation behind them doing that, though. I don't feel like like I know we're saying that's the argument. Like, do they matter? No, they don't in the grand scheme of things. But I think it matters to the league in terms of keeping
Right.
interest. Right? Look at
Of
baseball
course.
runs through the same cycle of it's a 162 game season, just like Overwatch is a
It's
long
a
season for an
long,
esport like season.
and they
So
don't play
I
every day
think
like baseball.
where everyone talks about at baseball in the sense of, oh man, what can they do to keep the season interesting? Well, Overwatch has kind of found something to do that. I think if it was just one long season, okay, call me the last couple weeks. Let me see the playoff race, and I'm just gonna watch the finals. As a
Mhm.
casual, very casual fan, right? Take out the hardcore fan out of
Right.
this. So to draw attention throughout the season, I follow up in the stage playoffs because it's kind of a good like,
I,
oh, hey, we're a quarter of the way through. I'm halfway through, three-fourths, and so forth all the way down, you know?
I think the real question is take away the ability to earn tokens while you watch and see what viewership does. I'm kidding, but but no,
I don't know,
I
man. The
think
All Star
viewership.
Weekend, they're doubling up those tokens. So,
Are they? I'm in.
yup,
I'm in, Tim.
yup.
I'll watch
Thursday,
it for the
Friday,
viewers.
double tokens, All Star
But
game.
now, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I said, being an Overwatch junkie, like it's
Yeah.
bonus Overwatch for me. I'm watching it. I'm all in. But
Like I said,
I
I'm
guess we're
glued.
arguing like two very
Yeah. Again, I just
separate
the
points. Like
bottom line
me, I
is
think
I'm
it
just a
dilutes.
negative.
You think
I'm just a
Because
negative
they
person.
don't have third-party tournaments, this is also another good way to kind of have a tournament within a league, right? Like where Counter
Right.
Strike, you're constantly seeing different tournaments take place. They can build up, ESL New York can be much bigger, where
Mhm.
DreamHack can be on a smaller scale. This kind of gives them an opportunity to throw this out there. It's like a little mini tournament within this season. I,
I'm
I
I, I
just hope.
personally really think it's
I'm
all just good. I'm having a hard time
I'm I'm
finding
wondering if
the
they're
negatives.
I'm wondering if they're gonna start doing that. Do you still have me?
I
Yeah.
got
Okay.
you now.
It kind
Yeah.
of went
It's
red. All
no
right. It kind of went
Discord. Just
robot-y for a minute.
yeah.
Yeah,
Discord.
Discord being Discord.
Discord's having a
But
fun time on
I
its
feel
birthday.
I feel like we might see a little bit more of that, Anuj, with the popularity of the Overwatch World Cup, and when that happens, viewership is awesome. That I'm thinking that maybe you'll have the season because there's a long off season, so maybe you have that Overwatch World Cup and then something in between. Who knows?
Right.
To kind of keep momentum and what have you. Maybe that helps to fill
I'm
the
just
void.
waiting for like
But
Sinatra to have his Dirk moment where, they get to that next leg and he just walks off the court. He says, "We got unfinished business." It worked in 2011 for Dirk. It's got to work
Just
from
go.
here. Like I said, it's me being negative. It's me like seeing the Shock celebrate. The confetti's flying everywhere. The owner's running on stage. Everyone's freaking out, and I'm like, stage 2 playoffs, boys. Like, let's keep the eye on the prize, all right? But at the same time, you're 18 and you just won 200,000, so I guess
that's
freak
right.
out as much as you want. Like, who
Yeah.
am I
No.
to tell
Yeah.
you to?
Go
Like,
ham.
who am
Right.
I? I'm just
That's
a
right.
I'm just a platinum telling you to not
Like
celebrate.
if we
So
were sitting on stage and we won 200K,
I'd be ripping off my
pretty
shirt.
sure we would be jumping
Woo!
around
Be
and
swinging
screaming,
my shirt
So
around. My keyboard
it's
would go
excitement.
flying.
It's excitement on both ends. I
Yeah.
get it. Like you're generally just a negative Nancy. Okay, Tim.
This is true. I mean,
That's
this
just
is
what we
not
get.
like a. This is
This is not a
not news.
shocker. But as somebody again looking from the outside in, I think it's cool. Like I do think y'all got something good going there with the playoff system.
True. True. As far as that though, matches were pretty good. We can talk about a little bit, but not too much because I know we're running kind of already late if we do e-news. Shanghai, London, LA Gladiators, and Dallas Fuel all tied for 5th through 8th. You had the Spark and New York get 3rd and 5th, or 3rd and 4th, excuse me. And in the finals, as we mentioned, San Francisco played the Titans, which this was a matchup. It went the full length, game 7. Uh, boy, I mean, I hate that the Titans are named the Titans because this was a battle of the Titans.
It really was. I mean, it was a battle of two of the most aggressive goats teams in the league, um, which is kind of why the Titans are where they are. Um, they play that aggressive style, and they really haven't played anybody like that the entire season. Tim will talk about this in Refuel, but I think a big part of why Dallas didn't do so well is because they were kind of timid and they were letting
Yeah.
the Titans take the fight to them. But the Titans kind of met their match, and it all starts with the main tank in Super. One of the most exciting Overwatch players in the league, super aggressive, does a really good job of being up there in front and doing damage, but at the same time, protecting support and just kind of positioning himself well.
Right. And yeah,
Um,
we will discuss more of the Titans' play style, especially in the Fuel, because we do a weekly in-season Dallas Fuel recap show. So if Dallas Fuel is your team, or if you just love us, you can check it out on YouTube.
uh,
But I do agree, and the way the Titans play compared to any other team in the league is insane. Like you can
yeah,
see, like when other teams, and you can really notice this on maps like Kings Row. Kings Row, it drives me nuts to see pro teams do this because I think they should have a little bit more confidence in their ability to win a fight a man down. But dude, on
mhm,
that first point, Kings Row, when normally when one person dies on the team, it's like the entire team will back off and just give up the first point. You see it all
yeah,
the time. Titans
yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah, the only time you'll ever see them do that is if somebody gets picked super early because their team fights, and you saw this against the Shock, their team fights last forever before
Yeah.
somebody goes down. So you'll see them if they kind of die early, they'll back off because with those long team fights, teams are building ults, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a battle to see who's Zenyatta can build their transcendence faster, or which Reinhardt can get a shatter in. They're long. So if there's a long team fight, they lose somebody, they know that they built up ultimates enough to be
Yeah,
able to win and stay in
they
that
can
team
try to
fight.
sway that fight.
Yeah,
But
they
that didn't
do a
help
better
them.
job of anybody in that.
Did not help them as they lost 4-2 again though in a game 7. So or not game 7, game 6.
Yeah, it
Game
was
6.
4-2. Yeah.
4-2. I can count. Don't worry about it. So that was the stage playoffs. Exciting, even though completely pointless. So enjoy your meaningless 200,000 there. Shock. uh, I'm a miserable person. All right, let's get into some Inuzo, shall we? Because we actually got quite a bit to get to. In CSGO, Neo, this actually just broke. I know it was rumored. I've heard it rumored throughout the week, but just broke, I guess, this morning. Neo replaces Adren on FaZe and immediately steps in as IGL as Nico takes a step down from that. He actually played his first game today with FaZe against what team? Virtus Pro. Sweet,
Man.
sweet CSGO poetry in motion. And icing on top of the cake. Icing on top.
The icing on the cake.
Icing on the cake. Thank you. Virtus Pro won.
That is awesome. I mean,
Uh,
and we should come back to a phase discussion at some point because there's just
oh yeah, there's a lot to
it's
discuss with
really
FaZe,
just
and I almost wish FaZe was at Madrid because I really do want to talk about FaZe.
yeah.
So we'll hit that up on the next time they're in an event. We can spend more time on them. Again, them losing to Virtus Pro today, it was in the ECS. So if there's any time to throw him into the fire, this is the fire to throw Neo into, right? It's not a tournament that he's got to start IGLing. But you know, it's just funny. It's funny. But teaser to when we do talk about FaZe, I almost want to put Nico on blast. So, because now that he's not IGL, what's his excuse? What's his excuse?
What's the team's excuse? It's
Like,
it's the whole
people
team
keep
at
telling
this
me
point.
FaZe is this, godlike Counter-Strike team, and Nico is just up there with Simple, and I don't see it. So we can talk about that maybe next episode or next time FaZe is in an event. In Overwatch, we already discussed it. All-Star starts on Wednesday and goes through Thursday. Double Overwatch League tokens. So if you're into that,
What the hell are these tokens we're talking about?
that's what you buy
Oh
like
my
team
God,
skins
yeah.
with in game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
team skins, and you can also use them for the new Lucio and Mercy skins.
All the All-Star skins and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha. The
They're
jerseys
more
look pretty cool.
valuable
I did
than
see the jerseys
gold.
pop out.
Yeah. So yep. So that's double up. In other Overwatch news, Overwatch League partners with Upper Deck. I think that worldwide, everyone. But if you don't know, Upper Deck is the trading card company. They do baseball cards, basketball, any type of card, really. So that to me is, as someone who still collects cards, right? Like I still collect Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'll buy baseball cards here and there. That's pretty awesome. I think that's very cool that they're going to start doing collectibles with Upper Deck. Trade news, you have the LA Valiant acquired McGravy and some other players from Mayhem for Fate.
That's huge for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Fate.
LA
who
had to
was
do
an
something.
all-star. Yeah, I mean, well,
They had to do something.
Fate was an all-star last year, and a big reason of why they were able to make the playoffs goes to the Mayhem as part of an all-Korean roster now. And
So they dropped. If you remember, McGravy used to be on Envy. Then he went to Florida. Then, like 2 weeks later, got dropped because he's white, and they went full
I don't
Korean.
think that was.
No, that is exactly why they went to him and said, "Look, bro,
Mayhem's coach has
white."
been talking about, like, he's been scouting, Korean contenders a lot. Like the GM
all
has yeah, I mean,
the
he has a
org
thing.
officially announced it and said, like,
Yeah,
we're done. We're done with you white people. We're going Korean."
that's exactly what they said. And they
So
can
it's
say
cool to
that
see.
because they're in Miami.
They ain't that the truth. So yeah, cool to see McGravy get another shot. And NRG drops their contenders team. So that's news there. Kind of sad. And when I first heard the news, I was like, oh, okay, well, NRG dropped their team, but this is just a way, because they're Shock, correct? NRG is Shock ownership. Yeah, because Shaq tweeted out that Shock won, and he's NRG. I thought it was like their coy way of saying they're rebranding the contenders team to like Shock Academy or something.
I just dropped them all together.
But they dropped them, and they said, like, in the tweet, like, we're more than willing to find them new homes. We wish them the best of luck. So it's very odd, again, that it's not like they're, like, the team is good, right? And you would think that every Overwatch League team would have a contenders, but it just goes to show, like, financially, it just doesn't make sense for some of these guys.
I just want to see what it's like, the life of a contenders player, to see if it's maybe very similar to the life
Miserable.
of a minor league baseball player in baseball. Like,
Probably worse.
their lives are rough. They are bad.
Probably
So bad.
worse.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Trill, right? Trill, who was on Envy and he was just called up to the Fuel, he's Australian, was playing in NA contenders while living in Australia.
He's gonna be the best player in Overwatch League, just so you know. It's a guarantee.
Going
He's playing
from,
on like 200 ping.
Yeah.
To like, I mean, this is gonna
Bro,
be a brand new. He's gonna suck
That's-
because the game's gonna be so different.
that's
or
why
he's
he
gonna be
played. That's why
amazing.
he plays Reinhardt, because he's on 300 ping. He just had to swing a hammer. He didn't have to aim anything. He just
No.
hold up your shield.
yeah. Maybe you're onto something. Why he plays main tank? I mean, there is
Yeah.
Custa. He plays main support.
Australian.
He's Australian. Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's exactly why.
Just hold left click.
In Dota, you had the MDL Disneyland Paris major wrapped up over the weekend. I did not have as much time to watch this as much as I wanted to, but Team Secret ended up defeating Liquid 3-1 in those finals. In other news, you have Rainbow Six Siege Pro League finals are wrapping up this weekend, so we might talk about that next week. And in Rocket League, the regionals wrapped up, so we have some of the teams who are going to Season 7 finals. In NA, you had NRG dominate Cloud9.
Yeah.
What was it,
that's
like
bad.
a 11-minute overtime that they had?
Yeah, longest overtime in RLCS history. Went like 11 plus minutes.
11 plus minutes.
It was insane.
So that was entertaining. G2 and Rogue also go. Splice is in the promotion playoffs, and so is Evil Genius. As Space Station is wondering where their in-game skins are, as they are qualified for Season 8. And in EU, you had Vitality, FC Barcelona, PSG, and Triple Trouble qualify, as Mouse Sports is in the promotion playoff. Again,
Didn't Barcelona blow a 3-0 lead to lose and get second there?
Yeah.
what you did.
Anyone?
I see what you did.
You
Yeah.
listeners, you'll get it.
You'll get it. Yeah, if you like soccer. Yeah, and Vitality, real exciting. They got K-Dop, one of the best players in the world, going from Dignitas to there. So something to watch.
There
Can
you
we
go.
talk Dignitas' new logo real quick? Thoughts?
Sure.
I like it.
Do you?
It's very German.
But it's like I missed the old one.
It was a little. I don't know what the
Rebranding.
old one was.
It was like that stupid little
drop?
face that I'm
It,
just.
it was like a
water
little
drop?
alien. It was like an alien,
Yeah,
right?
an alien droplet face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
alien
hate their
droplet
new
face.
one. I don't hate.
I
the
don't
new
hate the
one.
new one. I'm also not.
I like it.
I don't like change.
I like it better than Complexity's rebrand.
The
Complexity's rebrand made sense to rebrand. This one was just a new logo for the sake of getting a new logo.
Well,
the
but I
logo
also
looks
think
pretty
like this
awesome
one looks
on the Octane.
professional. Like this one looks like a professional
bat
logo.
that's like sitting there, kind
I
of.
think it's an owl.
Is that what it is?
That's what I always thought.
Wow,
I don't know what a
professional is it?
Dignitas is, so maybe we need to figure out what a
What's
Dignitas.
Let's Google Dignitas.
What is Dignitas? And an update on the Echo Fox story that we've been touching on in every e-news for the last couple of weeks. If you don't know, you can catch up, but the Spark Notes is one of the owners is super racist. Rick Fox, who is also an owner, is black and doesn't appreciate it. Threatened to leave the org if this guy isn't kicked out. And man, it just keeps going worse and worse and worse for Amit Razada.
Yeah, I
Yeah?
don't even know his last name. We won't give his last name attention.
We won't even
but
give him the honor.
This,
We won't even
this
give him the honor.
a-hole
So
is-
it came out and said, and again, last week we were kind of joking around, and I even made the point of like, all right, what is the difference between this and Sadicus saying the N-word, where everyone was so quick to be like, well, that's not really him, and well, let's forgive him and move on, and now you can work ESL, New York, sure, man, no problem. Well, we got our answer on what the difference is, as this guy has also been reported. This is from Slasher, who reported Richard Lewis. Rick Fox says there are multiple instances where Echo Fox shareholder Amit whatever called him a sand blank and would personally F him and his family for the rest of his life in any way possible. In a new report from Upcomer, Amit whatever also sent anti-Semitic text to Echo Fox investor David Viter, saying he is a dumb. Let's not let the music end on that one. All right, I need a little bit of background. Is a dumb Jew. I could say that. And when I'm done, you will wish you were in a camp burning. Oh
bro.
my
Bro.
God.
I should be laughing.
Like
This is
one-
funny, but it's like uncomfortable. That is so uncomfortable.
I mean, it's
Oh my
so
God.
ballsy in this day and age.
And that is
First
the
of all, if you're
difference
gonna
between
say
him
it,
and Sadicus.
you shouldn't say it first of all. But
You
if
think
you're
Sadicus-
gonna say it to throw it in writing, like, good
That's
lord,
what
this
I'm
guy
saying,
had some.
like-
This guy had some cojones, dude.
How
Like,
much
he
money
did
does this
not
guy have to
care.
where he's going to say that in a text message?
To somebody who obviously isn't taking it well, like looking at the responses,
And
right?
like,
It's not like
And it's like
was
to someone
joking.
who is like your equal, right? It's
your
like,
business partner.
dude,
Yeah.
like, I want to know, how did this get out now? Like, if he would have said, when I'm done, you will wish you were in a camp burning.
It's like, bro.
like right there, I would have been like, okay, maybe you're not a nice guy, and I need to tell someone about this. Like, if we're comparing him to what Sadicus did, roll out the red carpet for for Sadicus, because that looks so minuscule, and it really is in
To
compared to
genocide?
this dude. Like,
It's just
what
the whole
the
thing.
hell?
You put it all together. It's like this is a package deal you're getting from Myth here. So
And I love the fact that
it's,
it's like the first week you're like, okay, well, what did he say, right? Oh, well, he called me the N-word. Ugh, okay, yeah, you gotta go, bro. And then it's like the second week he's like, well, but he also said it to someone else. Yeah, not good, not good. And then in the third week, it's like you
He
you
threatened
see in
his
detail
family.
what he said, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, how is he not gone? Like, how is it's like every week it's like a piece of the onion is just unraveling, and you're like, ooh, I almost don't want to get to the middle.
like your eyes were watering at the start. By the end, you're in full blown tears. Like
right,
it's
get
not
this
this is not a
guy
good
out
situation.
of esports. Like the fact that it was even you almost feel bad for Rick Fox that it was even a debate. Like he was like, I'm gone or he is. Like, dude, there's no debate here. Like
Yeah,
he's gone.
Like
He's gone.
like get Rick Fox out of there.
I can't believe
Just
it.
kidding. No, I'm kidding.
I can
I
not.
do have a better note for this to end on. I looked up Dignitas and what it meant. It's a Swiss nonprofit member society providing assisted suicide to those members of other organizations who
I
suffer
saw
from
that.
criminal illness.
I saw that too, and I was like, man, that's depressing.
This
I'm
is like,
wishing I wouldn't have looked that up.
I know, right? So assisted
So-
suicide living, or can you say assisted suicide living? That's a no go. There is no living. Assisted suicide center.
Center.
Yeah,
Sure.
center.
We can say that.
Thing.
Why not?
Assisted suicide?
Yeah, like
Why
it's legal
not?
over there.
But thank you for ending
Oh.
the show on such a happy note. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Good.
Have a good Monday, guys. Appreciate you listening.
Have a good week.
Happy
everyone.
Happy Monday. Stay happy, guys.
Have a good week. But I really do appreciate everyone who listened to today's episode. Episode 157 of The Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, is done. It's in the books. Appreciate you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter. Tell your friends, your loved ones about it. Do appreciate it. At The Center Ring on Twitter. We are YouTube. Ooh, yes. We do have a custom YouTube, youtube.com/The Center Ring. So we were blessed by the YouTube to that extent. So thank you, everyone who follows us on YouTube. We really do appreciate that. So go check that out. Sub on YouTube. Smash that sub button. Thumbs up. That's what they say.
Notifications, all the good stuff. Do it
Oh
all.
yeah, hit the bell thing, I guess. Whatever. Do
Write
appreciate it though
negative
for listening.
comments, just
That
comment.
is the more important part, that you enjoyed the show. But we will be back next week for another fun-filled episode as we talk about esports and all that implies. For Nuge, for Brett, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.